How to start your Monday morning. Start the fire, boil the water, grind the coffee, add filter, coffee in the filter, water into filter, watch it drip, more water, watch it drip some more, fill your cup, raise your cup, and no. Leave the house and leave it up to the professionals to make the coffee. I'll stick to the conversations. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. This is our 82nd episode. I cannot even believe that. I know I say it every week, but as we get closer and closer to 100, you're going to be hearing a lot of that from me. So today it is so hot outside, obviously, but interestingly enough, today, June 23rd, is actually National Hydration Day. So here we are in the Great Lakes State, and we have an excessive heat warning in place. That is actually till tomorrow night. So I brought my little tumbler here. It's got the times marked on it. And this is how I do my water. I actually put instant espresso in it. So that's what's happening. That's the only way I can stomach my water. So we're going to let that settle, and then that will be good to go in just a few minutes. So thank you so much for being with us. Of course, I do have a powerhouse couple here with me today, and then also Chelsea Manning. She's from Detroit Mercy. She is here too. We're going to talk to her in just a few minutes. But first of all, we're going to talk to Chef Sam Borgia. And what is so interesting is that I said powerhouse couple because he is a well-known chef and his wife is a newly published author. So we're very excited to be talking to both of them. But we are going to start with Sam. And Sam, you are known as Chef Sam, as I already said. And I find this so funny. You started your culinary career at the age of 11.
Correct.
How does that happen?
Yeah, well, my family, they own an Italian restaurant. So it's pretty much when your family owns a restaurant,
that's
you're
what you're
going
doing,
to work.
right?
Yeah, there's no babysitters. You're going to work, so.
You're going to boil that pasta, right?
It's it, So whatever they said to do, I did it, and I ended up, I loved it.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah,
so you weren't sitting there like, why do I have to be
No,
here?
I looked at my dad in the kitchen, said, oh man, I want to be cooking,
That's cool.
So I just worked my way through and just kept doing it. When my parents decided to sell their restaurants, I just continued with my path and kept going.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay, so now you're at Cambria, Shelby, right?
Correct.
Hotel Cambria?
Yeah, we're
in Verona.
inside the Cambria Hotel in Shelby Township, and the name of the restaurant is Verona Inspired Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably, I've been there for 5 years coming up now.
Really?
And it's just a great company and great owners. And, when I came on board, usually there's, a direction that you're going to go and so on and so forth. But Italian was already my background.
Okay.
So when ownership just said, hey, just do what you do, it was like.
Just throw that pasta against the wall.
It just, it ignited that fire inside of me, to just want to just, come up with the best dishes, just the creativity. And it wasn't so on we kind of just veered off a little bit. Like I'll take authentic recipes, but then I'll put my own twist on it.
Okay, so give me an example of that, because we've got this beautiful tray in front of us right now.
Yeah, we brought some charcuterie.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're so spoiled. Thank you.
So I did make some arancini. So arancinis, if you don't know, in Italian they mean like little oranges.
Oh.
So they're basically rice balls. We use arborio rice, and we mix with Parmesan, a little saffron. And the authentic way to do it is like meat and cheese. Usually peas go in there,
Okay.
But like for our restaurant, I said we want to have something different.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually did like a spinach artichoke inside of the arancini, which is killer. And we sell so many of them.
It's so funny. I was on the website last night, maybe 3:00 in the morning, whatever, doing my research, not last minute at all. But you have calamari, right? And I love calamari, and it's mixed with something.
So we have two kinds of calamari, just our regular frita, which is with zucchini chips, okay, and then we do a bibsi. So bibsi is like a sweet and sour. It's got a little kick to it.
Really?
And we do it with like pepperoncini, and we toss it, and that's a big seller too. So, we just like to do a little twist on everything.
That is awesome. Okay, so what's your favorite dish?
I get that question a lot. I'm gonna tell you, my favorite thing to cook, my favorite dish would be, we have a garden at home. So anything that we're growing that we nurtured from seed to plant to whatever it produces, and you get to cook that, it just tastes like 1,000 times better because
That's awesome.
you grew it yourself.
Right,
You know,
right.
so whether it be the tomato sauce that we're gonna make from the tomatoes, or we'll make tomato jam out of our tomatoes too.
So what do you do with that?
A little crostini, you put some tomato jam, some burrata.
Is that?
Yeah, it's like a
Is it?
bruschetta.
Okay,
Sure,
okay,
sure.
okay.
But not like, normally it's just cut up tomatoes. But if you actually make a jam out of tomatoes with like star anise, and we put orange peels in there,
Wow.
and you just let that reduce down, which we have at the restaurant, it just gives it just that power, that power flavor, I like to say. And, you could jar stuff like that. So anything that,
That's cool.
we're able to cook at home, we love it.
I'm very sad. I don't know what's going on with me this year. I know I'm getting older, so maybe that's what it is. But all of a sudden, I want to like garden, and I mean, my mom's here. She'll tell you I have the worst luck with gardening.
Yeah.
Everything dies, and it's like, okay, well, we'll just try again next year. We had a garden when I was a kid, and I think we got one green bean out of the whole thing. True story. So she can verify that. But I bought those little pots, and I bought daisies, obviously, for my daughter Daisy, but basil. And I kept looking at it, and I'm like, come on, you can do this. And then slowly it's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to have basil. I'm going to bring it to you at the restaurant.
I'm going to tell you how to make some pesto is what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
And we're going to make it nut free because
Yes.
all our facilities are peanut, tree nut, and sesame free.
So tell me, I mean, that's a pretty big decision.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how did that come to be?
So one of our owners has a son that has severe allergies. So when he went into the restaurant business, he said, "Look, I want to make all my restaurants peanut, tree nut, and sesame free," which is challenging.
I'm sure. Yeah.
for a chef that's always worked with nuts. They go in everything in Italian food. But to find a different, unique way that tastes awesome is like, okay, now I'm getting better.
Right.
So
you don't have any guests say, "Oh, I can tell that there's no pine nuts in this."
no,
It's nothing
we toast
like that.
sunflower seeds and put them in there.
Really?
And it's just phenomenal. It gives a different, still gives that nuttiness. I put a little bit of arugula when I make my pesto.
Love arugula.
So it just gives it a very unique, and actually it's better. I mean, because that's always, walnuts and pine nuts, you know what I mean? So take those out of the equation and put some different flavor in there. It's not only unique, but it's delicious. So.
You're like, I'm switching it up, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's so important because I remember when, peanut allergies and you kept hearing about it. And it's funny because people get pushback about that.
Yeah.
And I kind of never understood that. I am allergic to chocolate, which is
Bummer.
crazy, I guess, right? Yeah, I was at Mackinac a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, no fudge for me, thanks. But the whole idea of people pushing back on, oh, you're fine, it's you're just faking it or whatever, and those are severe allergies.
Yeah, so that's why it's unique that we get to create this safe space.
Yeah,
and we have people come from all over.
I'm sure,
and they're just so happy that they just come in, and it's a relief. You can see it on, especially with children, you see the parents, and they're just like, oh no, you
have to always be on guard. I think,
it's your
right?
kid, you don't want to. And a lot of restaurants, they don't take it seriously, and hey, I have this allergy and this allergy. Oh, you should be fine. No, they're literally egging your meatballs,
right? You're like, you are not going to be fine. Here's the side of EpiPen.
Exactly. So we we really do. We take pride in it, and it's great to create a space like that.
So you said that's across all your spaces, right? All the restaurants?
All the restaurants.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you are, what's your official title?
I'm the corporate executive chef for all our properties.
Okay.
So,
all right.
They're not all Italian. Some are unique in different ways, but it's just great to be a part of it and be able to give my input, and design cool kitchens and
That's
stuff
awesome.
like that. Yeah.
So, the one thing, so obviously the show is called Caffeinated Conversations, right? And everyone's like, oh, we know you're a coffee nut and da-da-da. Pay no attention to that. But the whole idea to me has always been about the conversations around the coffee. And it's kind of the same thing with the food.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you sit down and, you say you break bread together or you share a meal and you talk. And, that's one thing I love doing with my twins. They're 13, but they love to sit at dinner and talk, which is great.
It is.
Dinner lasts for what, 2.5 hours sometimes?
The best part of
It
the
is,
day.
right?
Yeah.
But what's so interesting is that it means so much. And the conversation around the coffee or around the wonderful food in a wonderful atmosphere, that's what you remember. And I'm sure you have plenty of memories from your family restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even today, I do work long hours, but I'm fortunate my wife will wait and she'll have dinner ready and the kids wait and we all get to sit down together.
Really?
Yeah,
Every night.
Every night.
Yeah.
So what time's dinner?
Sometimes
Whenever
10,
he gets home. Yeah.
it just depends.
But your kids are older, right? So,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you're like, here, I'd be like, here's a banana, here's an apple, just keep waiting, it's
But
fine.
it's all laid out on the table.
Right, that's awesome.
The good, the bad, we all talk about our day and we solve a lot of problems at the dinner table.
That's where all of our life lessons are taught.
That is so
And
amazing.
we've always kept that sacred.
Really?
Just that family dinner time. We all know we'll wait till Sam gets home, and that's where
And I tell her, I said, you guys eat. I'm
they
going to be
have
late.
snacks. They don't go hungry.
I don't think so, right? With the garden in the back, and
No.
they're
Chickens,
just
yeah, chickens.
Oh, do you really?
Yes.
So what do you have? Real chickens?
Real chickens.
yeah.
Right now we have 14 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all lay eggs every day, so that's a dozen eggs a day. At
Really?
least. Yes. And
So
my
you
daughter
got-
sells them.
Oh, she
She gets all the profit.
she gets all the profit.
Yeah.
So she take care of the chickens too?
Yes, she
Yeah.
does.
Okay, so all right,
She's the
that makes
family
sense.
chicken tender.
Okay, she's the okay. And then what about the other daughter? What's her chore?
Oh, well, she just graduated, so she's going to college now. She works.
Okay.
She has a couple jobs lined up for the summer, and she's helpful too.
Okay.
But the youngest one is more of the farm child. She
Okay.
rides horses, takes care of the chickens.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sam, for sharing your the restaurant and your family business and your recipes and everything. And your wife is here because she has just published a book. And I waited on tables for years, and we were talking about this before we started. It's a very tough industry to be in with all the substance abuse that goes on,
Absolutely.
right?
70% of chefs will tell you the stress level in a kitchen gets overbearing where it's too much, where they have to either, drink at the end of the shift or unfortunately a lot of go and use different substances and it becomes a habit and that habit ends up taking over their lives, So it's a very high stress environment and unfortunately we lose a lot of good chefs to substance abuse and I was almost one of them. So I had a 20-year addiction, started from a motorcycle accident in my young 20s, and I developed a pain medicine addiction, which led into street drugs, and and that almost ended my marriage. It almost ended my life. So we were pulled through, and it was such a compelling story that my wife was led by the Lord to actually write it and put it out there for everybody.
Yeah. So were you guys just when that crash happened, were you just newly married or how did that?
We had met and we got married in 2015.
Okay.
So I was, older. My wife had a previous marriage with previous children. So we were probably 2.5 years into our marriage before all this came to a head.
Yeah, but I didn't really know anything about.
So can I ask you, did that start before the crash?
Yes.
Oh, it did.
Yes,
Okay.
and I
All right.
tried I thought this chapter of my life was done when I met my beautiful wife. I'm gonna get
She
married.
is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I said, I want to put that whole chapter behind me. I don't want to be that person. I want to be married. I want to be a good husband. And unfortunately, the addiction just it would not. I could not put it away, and I didn't tell her all about that. I just wanted. I know it wasn't right, but I just thought that hey, that's in my past. Why bring that up?
Well, I think a lot of people think that, right?
Yeah.
That they can just move past it. They have somebody who's in their life now, and it's like, oh, I can do this for them, and you realize you have to do it for yourself.
Exactly.
Right. And
Exactly.
but being in the industry is such a challenge because, like you said, there's it's like drinking after a shift or doing even drugs or whatever it may be, because people need the stress level is crazy high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get that. I worked at Denny's, right? So.
Denny's
It
at
was-
2 a.m., man.
Denny's in Newport Beach at 2 a.m. Not a good thing, man. I can tell you some stories. So Noelle, this book
Yes.
is called Silence the Lion, Wage War on Addiction and Win.
Yes.
And so tell me about this.
So, like Sam said, it's 2025, so we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. But back in 2015, I was a young, newly divorced mother with 2 little girls, and we were living in a condominium at the time. And I had a knock at my door in the middle of a snowstorm. So even our meeting was rather serendipitous.
Really?
And I always tell everybody, ladies, if you're praying for a man, he might just show up at your door one day, because that's exactly what happened.
Seriously?
Yes, I had never met him, and
Wow.
he's a chef.
Right.
Had
Was he wearing a hat? Was he
no,
wearing a
no. He just came to our door. We opened it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm your neighbor. I cooked up a bunch of food." And it was back when the Lions had a shot at the playoffs back in 2015.
Okay.
And he said, because of the weather, everybody canceled. So I'm just going around and knocking on neighbors' doors.
How cool is that?
And my little girls were with me, and I'm like, "Well, are there going to be any other kids there?" Oh, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to have a whole house full." So we trudged through the snow.
Right.
I didn't really want to go.
Right.
We're the only neighbors to accept the invite. So it's just like him, his
And
roommate.
you and the girls?
Yeah, and my little girls. But, as soon as I met him, I'm Italian too, so I learned that he was a chef in my favorite restaurant. His dad was from the same part of Sicily as my mom was. And, he liked to drink espresso, like all these wonderful
You want some
things.
instant espresso?
Hey, I was eyeing that, man. That was a good idea.
He's like, what are you doing? That's insulting.
So this was in January of 2015, and unbeknownst to me, we started this beautiful relationship. We went to church for our first date.
Wow.
And I know that sounds crazy. And I was a Christian my whole life. He was not as far along in his walk of faith or anything, but he just, he had a desire to build a family, build it on the right foundation. By March, he had a ring made. In June, he proposed to me, and then in October of that year, we got married. So it was like this 10-month, just
When you know, you
crazy.
know, right?
Yep, I guess
and that's what
so.
he said. When you know, you know. And everybody was like, "Are you sure?" And
Right.
that's what we just told
So let
everybody.
me ask you, how are your girls?
They loved Sam, and they still do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. He had never been married. He never had children. He was in his mid-30s. And I actually thought it was kind of odd. He's such a nice guy.
I was just going to say, were you
right?
thinking, what's wrong with the guy?
That's what I was thinking that.
Yeah.
But he just was just genuine, sincere, so sweet to the children. So we got married, and rather quickly things went south. So the only thing I knew about Sam when I first met him was that he had been in a terrible motorcycle accident. And, we were preparing to get houses together, and we got a mortgage. We were preparing for the wedding. And the only thing I knew is he took this little pill called Suboxone. And he just kind of told me, "Oh, this is just a pill they kind of give you after, he had 5 surgeries to reattach his ankle.
Wow.
And he broke his back. So at the time of his accident in his early 20s, the pain medication regimen was somewhat warranted. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
that was also
And it was also very different back then, right?
During the whole
very
Oxycontin thing where they just rolled pills out to people.
Right.
So all I knew is he took this little pill called Suboxone, and it kind of helped him with the pain and kind of helped him, not need to think that he needed to take pain pills anymore. But he never mentioned the word addiction or anything like that.
So what is Suboxone?
So Suboxone, basically, if you're addicted to opiates, it's a pill. You have to go into withdrawal, so you have to stop taking the whatever medicine or drugs that you're taking for anywhere from 24 to 72 hours till you're in full withdrawal.
Okay.
And then you take this pill, and it stops the withdrawal, and it stops you wanting to go do
Like the cravings and
Yeah,
stuff?
the cravings and
Yeah.
everything. But the thing is, that drug's only made for a short term, maybe a week, you know what I mean, to get through the worst of it. And then you're supposed to just
Just
try-
kind of do it, right?
Yeah. The doctors had me, I was out of 5 years, so 5 years of that. And I'll tell you what, I would take the withdrawal from pills or drugs any day over that, because that was probably 2-3 months of just hardcore bone breaking, just withdrawals.
Really?
Yeah, that.
And were you working during that entire time?
Yeah, so he was on it when I met him. So basically what happened is after we got married, initially things were pretty good, but I didn't know what was wrong with him. It was like, okay, we just have this beautiful house. He seems to love the kids. He loved me. He proposed to me. And all of a sudden, it was just like I was married to this man that I didn't know. He was moody, irritable, angry all the time. He would disappear. He wouldn't come home at night, and just, curse me out with the most vile language, like not even remotely similar to
Really?
this man that you see sitting here. I
Right.
mean, that's what addiction does to you. And little by little, as the time went on, I first thought maybe he had a problem with alcohol, you know, because I would see him come home and drink. And then there were periods of time where, you know, he got pills, and I thought, okay, well, you know, he's taking pills, but you know, he has
Right.
all this hardware in his ankle. When he would get home from the restaurant at night, he's hobbling around, he can't walk, but we just couldn't I couldn't figure out what was going on. But now this whole time we're going to church, like he seems like he wants to be married to me, but it wasn't until about 2.5 years into the relationship where basically everything came to a head, and I found out that he was actively driving to Detroit, to and from Detroit before and after work every day, getting heroin, crack. I mean, it was active. I was finding needles in the house. I mean, it got to the point where we are in like hardcore active addiction. And here I am with 2 little girls.
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, you know, I have a business, like I'm a Christian mother. I had these beautiful little girls, and now I'm married to a drug addict. Like, you know, and I just had come out of a relationship. So you're thinking, okay, this is the start of something new, but it was catastrophic, you know. So by the time it got to, you know, about 2.5 years into our relationship, it started to come out. Like everybody was like, okay, what's wrong with Sam? You know, we're canceling family
So everyone's
functions.
noticing.
He's unable to function at work. Like the balancing act that he thought he could keep up when we first married, it just spiraled
Well, because
out
it's
of
different when
control.
you're living by yourself,
Exactly.
right? And you're able to
Yes.
kind of hide that,
Yes,
as
yes.
opposed to you and the
Well,
girls.
and that's exactly it. You know, when you're a single person, if you want to disappear, or if you want to sleep for 2 days in your bed after you're coming down off something or high on something, nobody's going to know. You don't have anybody to answer to. But when you have a family, and, you know, that juggling, he couldn't keep all the balls in the air anymore, you know? So finally, it got to the point where we kind of had a family intervention. We got his parents involved, my parents involved. We're like, listen, we can't live like this anymore. You know, this is not what we signed up for, and we got to get you some help. So he tried going to a psychiatrist and doing like a controlled wean off of the Suboxone, because he was using that on top of all the others.
everything.
Yeah.
It was whatever, and he'll tell you, you know, you kind of become your own mixologist. You take this to keep
It's like,
you up.
oh,
you take this-
now I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
But in the way that, why don't you describe, like, it's not a matter of, like, people have this perception of drug use that it's like, oh, you're just living this life where it's such
Like party style
Yes.
life.
And he'll
When it gets to that
describe it.
point, you're not getting high. You're just trying to get by, you know. And it's like you're just in a body of water and you're drowning, you know, and you're kicking and it's so hard just to get your nose above the water, get one breath, and then you're going back down. Like that's.
So were you ever, I mean, were there times when you wanted to tell her or?
Yeah, I mean, by this time that she's talking, I mean, you know, everybody knows, you know, what's going on.
And then it came out that he had a criminal history, and he'd had multiple convictions, drug-related convictions. He lost his driver's license. I mean, we were spiraling down to the bottom of, you know, into a
quick.
world that I knew nothing about. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know people that were struggling with drug addiction, or how to handle it, or how to combat it. So here he's just laying in bed all day, you know, basically just, you know, out of it. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? What do you do, you know? So he went to the psychiatrist. He tried the controlled wean. It went completely sideways. And back in December of 2017, it ended up, for the first time, he didn't come home for a night. And I just feared the worst. I knew something horrible had happened, and 24 hours passed, and I finally got a call from the hospital that they found him unresponsive on the side of the road, and had to revive him twice. He had multiple heart attacks, and, you know, just completely struggles with his health. But I went to the hospital the next day, and we agreed, you know, he was going to make it, but he was going to go to rehab. So we tried the whole rehab route. We sent him to rehab right after Christmas, and he was right in the middle of detoxing, trying to get off all the drugs. And I got a call January 1st that the rehab was no longer in our insurance network, and they were going to send him home to me in the middle of detox unless I wanted to pay $7,500 a day for his treatment. So So they did ship him home to me. And if you know anything about the healthcare system, you just when you're in that situation, there's never a quick fix. You know,
No, and there's things to figure out.
And even when you say I'm ready to get help, there's not a bed available. There's not just this immediate like, okay, you know. So there's always this period of, okay, now he's going to come home to me. Now what? Okay, he's got to keep using. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or he's going to get through the withdrawals until I find something else. So I did end up finding another place. We sent him to Nashville, Tennessee, to one of the best rehabs in our insurance network in the country. The rehab recommended the 60-day extended men's program because of the length, 20 years of opiate
doing
abuse.
this, right.
That, 2 weeks in rehab is just not going to cut this. So he was about a week and a half into his second rehab. And again, we got the call, the insurance wouldn't pay for it.
Seriously.
Yes. So, and when you start the 60-day program, it's different, much more intense than just the 14-day program.
Right.
So he was starting to get into a groove, starting to have
How
hope.
long into it was it when you got that call?
About a week and a half into it. And we got the call again. And by this time, it had come out that he's been to jail. He's been to boot camps. He's been to, dozens of rehabs over the 20 years before I had met him. He's tried all these things that the world has said, okay, these are the steps you need to take to get off drugs.
Right.
So, into the second rehab stay, they sent him home to me again, basically. So he got on a flight, came home, and then at that point, we're at the beginning of 2018, and he began to spiral into the deepest dark of a vortex that if you would see the man he was compared to the man that's sitting here today, you would never be able to reconcile that they're the same person. He began drinking just gallons of alcohol.
I just went just depressed,
Just
I mean?
I can
you
see
don't
how,
want to do this
though.
no more,
Because you
hurting
have
everybody.
hope. All these steps along, you think, okay, if I can just get into this rehab program, I can see the finish line. But it just everything. If I can get with the psychiatrist and get off this, wean off this, okay, then I can start. But every door we tried to open was just a dead end.
So what did that do to you?
I mean, by this point, to the world, he's a drug addict, and even I began to question, as much as I loved him, I really couldn't find anything of the man that I thought I was marrying left in him. I mean, the addiction just reduced him to, what the world would call just an addict. He's just going to be an addict for the rest of his life. Get rid of him.
Right.
And even my own father told me, if you stay with this guy, I'm going to disown you. He's never going to change. I mean, this is what even his own family, came out, they'd been dealing with this for years. Like, everybody just throws their hands up. We don't know what to do, So basically, after he came home, but I was going to church. I was praying. I was standing on my faith like, Lord, I know this is not the life you had planned for me. This is not the plans that we had when we got married. I knew this wasn't the intention.
Especially for someone who just shows up at your door.
Yes, exactly. like you see how he is now, like so kind and sweet. That's who I'm married. You know what I'm saying? And I knew this wasn't the plan that God had for us. And I just kept believing, God, you have to take this away. We don't know what to do. Like, we're trying everything that we know to try within our own power, but you have to do something. But still, I had the voice of the enemy and the world in my ear. Leave him, get rid of him. So by this time, he ended up going to live with his parents because he just said, I'm not going to put you and the kids through just this drinking and all these pills and whatever he was. I mean, he just laid in bed all day, lost his job. I mean, we were down to, when you say rock bottom, I mean, it was rock bottom. So I ended up filing for a divorce, but I really didn't want to divorce him. I just wanted him to change. I wanted him to be the man that I married. And I just kept, I wouldn't let them serve him the papers because I kept saying, Lord, just give me one more day. You gotta change him. You gotta break through to him. Just take this addiction away from him. And unfortunately, it didn't happen the way that I thought it would. So this is 3 months after the first overdose. We had to file our taxes, and I went to go pick him up one day, and he wasn't answering the phone, and I just kind of had that feeling in the pit of my stomach again, like something's wrong. And by this time, I knew he didn't want to live anymore.
Right.
So I got to his parents' house, and I found him in the bed, and he was pretty much dead. He was foaming at the mouth, just gray, sweating. I mean, barely breathing. We called the paramedics. They tried to get him up. He collapsed. And they said, follow them to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, he was in the resuscitation room, so they had to revive him. But there was really nothing left to revive. He had multiple heart attacks, had flatlined. He was in multi-organ failure. So they put him in a coma. So he was on life support in a medical-induced coma with a 5% chance to live. So his kidneys were shot, his pancreas, he had sepsis, like I said, his cardiac arrest.
And he'd already had heart attacks before,
too,
right?
3 months prior, he had just had heart attacks.
Right, okay.
So, and that's what addiction tells you. Okay, like to a regular person that doesn't struggle with addiction, you rationalize it and think, well, he just overdosed, he almost just died. He's not going to go out and do this again.
Not going to take the chance, right?
But in that world, substance abuse, it lies to you. You know, there's no reason, there's no logic, there's no rationality to it. It's just. So, anyways, we got to the place where he was in the coma for 9 days, and every day I would go to the hospital, just pray over his bed. At night, I was keeping a journal, crying out to the Lord. I wrote prayers out, put him over his bed, would put on praise and worship music and just declare, like, Lord, heal my husband. And I know this is not the plan for his life. So eventually, after 9 days, I took him off the life support, and we were so happy, like, okay, maybe, is he going to make it? I mean, everything looked horrible, but it was at least good to see him start to breathe on his own. And I remember the very first words that he said to me when they took him off the life support were, why didn't you just let me die?
Yeah, I woke up, so about 7 days before my wife found me, I was praying to God, take me in my sleep. I don't want to live no more. Mm-hmm. And the final day, I ended up just taking a handful of pills and took a bunch of alcohol. I said, Lord, take me. I don't want to live in this world. I don't want to hurt the people around me. I don't want to live like this no more. Mm-hmm. So when I finally woke up in the hospital, I was like, Lord, you won't let me die.
What's going on?
You won't let me live. You won't let me die. Mm-hmm. Like what, Mm-hmm. And I was, hardened. My heart was very hardened still.
And by this time, like I said, I had filed for divorce.
Right, but he hadn't been served, right?
I'm in the room with his parents, so they're looking at me like, you filed for divorce. Why are you even here? It's just this, and that's what addiction does. Mm-hmm. It just creates all this dissension, and it tries to divide people because, unified, you're stronger. But if everybody's mad at each other, you can't make a really good plan to combat it. But yeah, so for multiple days, I would say at least another week and a half, I would go to the hospital every day, sit by his bed, and he would not even talk to me, just angry, mad. He was just so mad that he had lived. Until one night, or one morning, it was March 27th, I remember the date, it's in the book, March 27th, 2018. I would call him every morning, and usually every morning he'd say, what do you want? Why are you even here? Why are you even calling me? You're not my wife. Just leave me alone. Just this bitterness, just all-consuming anger, And I called him in the morning, and he just, you can say, he just, I could hear in his voice something had changed. It was like the tone. He was just like, good morning, Noelle, my love. And you could just hear like all that, the shame and the guilt and everything that he had built up around him. It was like, wait, where's that angry man that I've been talking to for 2.5 years?
Right, that you braced yourself for, right?
Yes. So, and then you can kind of explain what happened.
So what happened, Sam?
So the night before, the morning that she's talking about is I had no rest in the hospital. Like there was no comfort to be had. I was just so uncomfortable. I was pillows here, there, whatever, to try to get a little comfort, and I just couldn't get it. And I
wish we had the machine, the picture to show you all the machines and the dialysis tubes everywhere. Just,
It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had a conversation with God. I just asked him, I said, Lord, please just take this away from me. I don't want to live like this. I know that I'm meant to do better things. I know the love, like I have so much love to offer. Like I have such a life to live, Lord, please just take this away from me. And just a warmth came over me in that hospital room and over my body. It was just like somebody just wrapping their arms, just giving you the biggest hug ever. And it was warmth and, goosebumps at the same time. And I don't know, I just felt like such a release. Like I could breathe, like I could talk, I could see. I like just all these feelings coming back to me, and I just started weeping. I remember just weeping uncontrollably. And, I was able to lay down and get like 1 or 2 hours of rest. And then my wife called me and I just explained to her that everything's going to be okay now. Like look, nothing good was going on, like from the doctors, I'm on dialysis, but I'm just telling her, like, listen, I know everything's going to be just fine now. Everything's going to be okay. And she came after that conversation. And
Yeah, and I could tell, like, the air in the room, like something had shifted. And, in the Bible, you might read about it. It says that the Lord will circumcise your heart, which means circumcision means cut away. And I feel like that's exactly what happened to him. Like all that bitterness, the shame, the addiction, all the walls that he had put around his heart. It's like God just cut it away, and like I could see the beautiful heart once again. I'm probably gonna cry talking about it. But ever since that moment, we're talking 20 years of hardcore, needles in my garage, everything. That's it. That was the end of the addiction.
Well, 7.5 years.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't the end of his physical issues. So he left the hospital after 16 days on dialysis. He was able to go to church Easter morning for one day. We laid hands on him, we prayed for him, and his kidneys were miraculously restored. And they tell you once you're on dialysis, nobody gets off dialysis.
Yeah.
He got off dialysis.
Really?
Then for 2.5 years, he had to fight because his pancreas was so blown out from the drug use and the alcohol that he actually had to, it was about 25 procedures they tried to save his pancreas. So he has half of his pancreas removed now, and they took the spleen out. So that was, maybe 5 years ago now that we finished all that, and that was the end of it. That's
Really?
it.
They gave me a 5% chance.
It's so miraculous. I had to write a book.
Well, and here it is, right? So
You guys probably aren't going to believe it. But this is how, it's just like my husband is living proof, that you can't explain it any other way. I'm telling you all the things we tried.
Yeah.
Just the power of the Lord is so miraculous, and we feel so blessed that we had to share this message.
Oh, for sure, because there's so many people who struggle and like you try and try again and then feel hopeless and then kind of lose it, and then you said the family, right?
Exactly.
And then everyone kind of is like, oh, well, just
And we're such a close-knit family too. You know what I'm saying?
You're Italian, so yes.
And it's just the devastation it causes, not just the little the family unit. The extended family, everybody. And that's why I kind of use the lion as the metaphor. All the people that get dragged into the den with you, and it's your employers, it's your children, it's your coworkers. Nobody's immune from the effects and the damage and, wrecked cars. And you just can't imagine the trail of destruction that the lion leaves.
Addiction hurts all the people that love you the most around you.
Yeah.
And you hurt those people the most, know, and that's when you do decide to get clean, all those feelings come back, and then that shame and guilt puts you right back in there, So I was off of work for, a couple of years during all this, and I prayed to God. I said, God, where am I going to go now? I've been a chef my whole life, been cooking my whole life. Like, where am I going to go? I don't want to get back into that. Maybe that scene's not for me, But so it be, he opened a door for me, and it was right where I'm at now, and that's where I need to be. And and I see people struggling every day. The hospitality industry is not an easy industry, but I bring something different. I bring maybe a little bit of light, maybe a little bit of wisdom. My door is always open. I probably do more counseling in my office than I do actually being a chef. But you know what?
Yeah.
I have a great team around me. These guys put their heart and their soul into it, and we're a family. I see these guys more than I see my own family. So,
but you have dinner every night with your family,
do.
right?
We do have dinner every night.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So, if you could give me one word about how you feel now.
Blessed.
Yeah.
How about you, Noelle?
That's what I would say. everything from where we were to where we are now, you probably wouldn't recognize us. And if you were to read about Sam on paper, you'd just be like, no, it's just a,
just another
just
guy,
another
right?
guy with a
Just
criminal
another
history,
guy.
Another drug addict. But that's what we want to show the world. Like, the addiction doesn't have to define you. And, we really feel like when we put our faith in the Lord, like that's where you find your identity. The world may tell you you're an addict, you're a criminal, you're a junkie. Those could be things that you struggle with, but it's not what defines you. And we've proven that.
Yes.
Like, that's it. We close that chapter. And that's the other thing that we want to tell people too, is that recovery doesn't have to last a lifetime. That's not been the case with us. We close that chapter. But now we're telling other people. So we actually started a ministry, Shattered Mirror Ministries, and it's basically to empower people to see this identity for themselves and not be trapped in, things and situations and seasons and addictions that you found yourself. It doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life because,
because here he is.
We're blessed. We are so blessed. If you would have told us.
Noelle mentioned too, I had pending cases, pending felonies, all these things. The Lord
everything.
restored everything. He took all those away. I took time. I went and did the right thing, got my license, and they gave me breathalyzers for a year. But everything now is 100% restored. So just because you lose doesn't. Those are just material things in life,
Yeah.
Right.
Main thing is to get your center right, and then all those things will be given unto you.
Yeah.
This is an amazing story. Seriously, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Chelsea, you've been so. I promise we're going to talk to you.
Big act to follow up
I
with.
know, right? But you've got food things too, which is so
yes.
interesting and a great tie-in. But okay, so the book is just out.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful cover.
Thank
and
you.
It's available on Amazon.
Yes, it is.
And Kindle. I know this.
Wherever
books are
Barnes
sold,
and
right?
Noble, yep.
And who's this book for?
It's for people that are struggling with substance abuse, addiction, and the people that love them. And because the story is written from my perspective as a loved one of an addict, and we don't even like to use the term addict,
right.
we want to change that narrative too. But it's also, a lot of Sam's journaling that when he was in the rehabs and things like that. It's our story, but all throughout the book, it's a guide, kind of directing people to be able to begin to feel, to be able to strip away the parts of their identity that the enemy has sold them, that don't define them for God's purpose for their life.
It's a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
When there sometimes is no more hope to be had, so.
And you asked.
Yes. Yeah.
See, and I think that, I guess, as you were talking, and I'm thinking, well, but you had done everything before that, and so you wanted to, but you couldn't. But I guess maybe it's the fact that you yourself just said, help me.
Yeah.
I think that, and I just surrendered everything. At that point, there was, I always reference like, okay, last resort, Lord, help me, this is it. And now it's first resort, I go to our Lord about everything, it was maybe small to some people, but to me, it's a big thing, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I just want to say, I realize there may be people listening that, don't share the same faith as us, but it's just like when you're ever in a situation and you're looking at death's door and you've tried everything, you don't know what you would do.
Right.
And I really think that for us, that's how faith was birthed in us, is when, there's no other hope. There's nobody's coming to save you. Nothing's gonna, and that's how I think faith was birthed for us. Like if you don't do this, that's the end, So we've come to the end of our rope, and I think that's the whole thing too, is it's kind of like when we stop fighting, or stop trying in our own strength and just say,
take it.
Just, take it from me.
How do people find out information about the ministry?
You can go to www.Shattered Mirror Ministries, kind of like the cover of the book, with the shattered mirror. And you can, on Facebook and Instagram, Silence the Line. You can just type in Silence the Line, and
it comes
a bunch of our
Trust me, it comes up.
Yeah,
it comes up. That came up for me at 3:30 in the morning.
Good things happen at 3 in the morning.
I know,
believe it or
right?
not.
Exactly. See, and you're living
Exactly.
proof of that. Okay, Chelsea Manning, thank you so much. You are amazing to be sitting there, and I saw you.
story.
I know, and I saw you smiling, and I saw you kind of nodding your head, and kind of, especially during the food stuff, right? But you are from Detroit Mercy, and what's the name of the nonprofit?
It's called the Titan Equity Nourish Network, kind of a mouthful. So we go by TENN generally.
Okay.
And we are a student-led, community-driven food justice program on campus.
How did this start?
So it's evolved a lot. We're about 13 years. Initially, we were called Campus Kitchen, which was a national program at a bunch of colleges that focused on rescuing food waste and then giving it out to the community and repurposing it. And actually, we were focusing on food waste on campus in different places. And a cool byproduct, but kind of was hard for us, is these organizations realized, wait, we probably shouldn't be wasting this much in general. So they changed their practices, and we lost a lot of our food sources. So that caused us to change. And then also working with the community, we've changed a lot into what we are today.
So you say student-led. So, and then I know, I'm looking through my notes. Hold on
For
one
sure.
second.
Go
So
for it.
you have the community meal that is happening in November.
Yes.
But that was created by a student.
Yes, so our team, and I was bummed they couldn't be here today, but especially over summer, a lot of them are working, and Monday's not our day with them. But our team, besides myself, are a team of interns. We have 2 to 3 a semester. Student employees, also like 2 to 3, and then a few volunteer students who just dedicate their time as leaders. And they help plan and implement everything. So that community meal was one of our amazing students, Oliver. That was his idea. That was his passion project. And he was like, I want to do this. And I was like, okay, let's make it happen. And now it's one of our favorite programming. And because we pass out fresh produce to 50 or 60 families on Fridays. We go to a senior center every other Wednesday to pass out food and build relationships. And so our community engagement side has grown a lot, partially because of students' passion. And it's what has created us. Like, we don't see ourselves as outside of the community. Like, I don't like saying like the university community and then the community we live in. Are part of the Jesuit values of being at Jesuit University is being inside of a neighborhood, inside of a community. So things like the community meal, the purpose, I mean, it's a bonus to be able to offer amazing free food for the community, but our goal is really to build those relationships and, have us be one.
Well, when I was on your website at 4 a.m., the community was in everything. And I kind of thought that was so interesting because I was like, oh, look, it's a community fridge. It's a community
Yes.
meal. And that says a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I always include the community driven. So they're a part at every stage. Actually, our 2 big distributions of food started with community members coming to us and saying, I see a need, I see a desire, and let's work it out. And that's one reason why we're so successful. So we focus on produce. And that's because that's the biggest need of the communities we're working in. And I've worked in food access before this, and there is a shift towards nutrition, which is great, but often it's like we got to get people calories. So canned goods, things that are shelf
Substance,
stable,
right?
But that wasn't the need of the community we were in. And if we didn't work with and didn't build our programming with community leaders, we could have easily missed the mark. And that's a waste of resources if we're giving out items that aren't what people need. And we focus on produce partially because a lot of the people we work with are seniors. And fresh, healthy food is the hardest thing to get in the city. It costs more inside Detroit, at a Meijer in Detroit versus a Meijer outside. It costs more. It sometimes, unfortunately, can be lesser quality. And then especially for seniors who have mobility issues, you can't stock up on fresh produce for a month and bring it home and be good. And that's why we work on a weekly or bi-weekly schedule.
So earlier when we were talking and I said about, conversations over the coffee or over dinner, and what have you found between the students and the community and the people you serve?
It's incredible. And that's why we do so much of we focus a lot on engagement. We have game nights 1 to 2 times a semester during the school year. During the summer, we have garden parties, and then we have our community meal. And all of these are designed to have us interacting. And it's so much fun because in our society, unfortunately, we naturally get siloed and often don't have an opportunity to meet people outside of our background, whatever that may be, race, religion, socioeconomic, whatever. And a lot of our students, not all, we have our more and more diverse population. I will say, especially those students who are drawn to TENN often come from more diverse backgrounds.
What are their majors, or what are they?
It's everything.
Really?
So with our internships, we work a lot with people in healthcare. We also have had a social work intern for a long time. But especially the students who become like employees or volunteer leaders, we do get a lot of people from the medical background. They need a lot of volunteer hours. So that's how they start with us, needing those hours, and then they're like, oh, this is pretty amazing.
And then they stay
with us. Oliver is a psychology major, and we have a lot of pre-dental students, so it really is the gambit. But no matter what your major is, understanding and be able to work with people who are different from yourself is invaluable. And I think that's one of the things that gets a lot of students hooked with us, because once they start working with the community members, I mean, we have so much fun. They're the best people you'll ever meet. And like, it's so much fun to watch them learn from each other, and just like form those relationships. And like a pet project of mine, which I think wasn't our main mission, but has become a benefit, is really breaking down a lot of the stereotypes of Detroit, a lot of the misunderstandings about our community. Because as soon as you sit down, have a meal, play a game, you're like, oh, we're all people. You have very different experiences, which I can learn from and love to hear about. But it really can, and I hope, break down a lot of the biases that exist.
And to sit and play games, and I mean, how fun does that sound? We all need to go to that.
Yeah, we do crafts. It's fun to see, like, everyone just really enjoying each other.
And for the students, you know, how many lessons do you think they're learning from all of this?
A ton, and I think a lot of it is not even realized. Like
they won't realize it till later, I don't think.
Right, but we're lucky because as a Jesuit university, just about everybody has to do some type of volunteering or service work on campus, and so a lot of people get directed to us, which is great. And it's fun to see, especially there's a leadership class on campus that a lot of students go through, and the professors are always really kind to share with us the reflections that talk about TENN. And there's people in class on campus who are analyzing these reflections, and there is a dramatic difference, or I shouldn't say a significant difference between those who work with TENN and those who might work in other scenarios where they're not interacting with people or they're not getting that background knowledge, where they are understanding systems and how systems play an impact on social issues and food insecurity. It's not individual failing, or just understanding the bigger picture and understanding their role and how they can impact positively no matter what field they go into.
So can the community obviously can help you guys too, right? I mean, so how can people help you?
Definitely. So, and especially with, unfortunately, the climate right now with food, especially, we're seeing our the amount of food that we're able to give out decrease while demand is dramatically going up.
So kind of like what happened during COVID almost, right?
Definitely, yes, but for a lot of different reasons. And so, I mean, I think supporting any local food bank, food institution is huge right now. They need money, especially. And then also donations. And then for our program specifically, because we are so small and student run, can always benefit from more donations. So if you Google TENN or go to the university website and put that in, it will go to our webpage where you can see all the awesome stuff our students are doing and the community. And then there is a link for our crowdfunding.
And that's spelled TENN, TENN.
Yep. Yes. And so, or if like Titan Equity Nourish Network, but TENN UDM, it should pop up.
Okay. Okay, so I can't believe an hour has almost gone by.
Wow.
But I always ask this, and Chelsea, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
So if you were to meet your younger self for coffee, what would you tell her?
I think to trust the process. I've done a lot of career jumping. I never kind of expected to be where I am, but being at the university, I found, I think, what I've been meant to do. And each of those things kind of led me there. And so, just trusting the process.
Okay, Noelle, you're up. What would you tell your younger self?
Probably just you are enough, and you're equipped for whatever journey that the Lord sees fit to have you go on. Because I always felt like I was spinning my wheels and trying to get all these degrees and study here and learn this. And then you get to this point in your life and you realize, what really matters is just, your faith, your family, and peace, really. Peace to us is the biggest thing. And when you can go to sleep at night and have nothing to worry about and just, rest, I think you can't put a price tag on that.
Not at all.
No.
Okay, Chef Sam, you're up.
You better get yourself another coffee there.
It looks kind of gross, actually, now that I'm looking at it. I think I just needed 2 packets. I needed a Doppio.
Geez, I would tell my younger self that you are loved and you are worth it, and don't let nobody else tell you differently, and just keep on your path. God doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste the bad, the ugly. He always turns it into good. So I definitely would tell myself that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, all 3 of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
It has
us.
been such a pleasure to hear your story, and we are giving the book to our audience, right?
Yes, absolutely.
My Daisy, do you want to? Oh, Daisy, my daughter is here. She wants a book.
Wow, so awesome.
And I think it's just so important to get the word out. And I know. When you guys were coming on, and it was the whole idea of, this is faith-based, right? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with that
Good.
because it is, it's important for people to get the help they need. And maybe somebody is watching or listening thinking, you know what?
Yeah.
I've got one last shot. Let's do it.
awesome.
Right? So.
Yeah,
Yes.
and actually our book, we've just been partnering with some different organizations and some different people. It's going to be on 1 million prisoner tablets in over 1,200
Really?
jails nationwide.
That
And we've
is
just started
awesome.
shipping our first cases of physical books to the Prison Book Project, and we're partnering with some other local ministries. So
Really?
if anybody wants to get on board with Shattered Mirror Ministries, that's kind of what we're doing is we just want to be able to take this message of hope, to the people that need to hear it most.
So just a side note to that, when I was at WWJ, my whole thing, Jeff Gilbert's our auto beat reporter.
Yeah.
And so I went to our VP and I said, I need to be the prison beat reporter.
Yes.
Because everyone has a story.
Yes.
And so I actually would go to the different prisons in the area and, meet people and kind of, they have a hospice.
Yes,
There's so many
Right.
stories that these, that people need to know. And I thought too, yes, you're labeled a criminal, but that's not all you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to tell those stories. So I think
Yes.
that is amazing. That is very cool. So we will talk about that after. So
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, this book, Silence the Lion,
Yes.
it is available anywhere books are sold.
Yes.
And the 10, give me the website one more time.
TENN, if you UDM and search 10, it'll pop up.
Okay, and then, 'tis the season 2. The Ford fireworks are happening tonight, right? And I don't know if any of you have dogs, but I do, and he's crazy. so I just wanted to remind people to help your dog cope. You want to create a safe space. Maybe put on some loud music. My dog, I love Barry Manilow, so he loves Copacabana. so that's what he'll be listening to for about the next 3 weeks, I think, right?
Maybe cook some nice pasta sauce.
I'll leave that up to you. Al dente, right?
Yeah, al dente.
Al dente.
Al dente means firm to the tooth.
Is that what it is?
That's what it means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you really throw pasta against the wall?
Never.
Okay, just checking, man. We've got
My wife would
confirmation.
kill me if I did
I'm
that.
sure. I'm sure. Thank you guys so much again. Thank you for joining us. 82nd episode. You guys have a great week, and I will see you all again soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to say keep the coffee hot. Actually, I'm going to say today keep it iced. It is so hot out there. Have a great week, and we will see you next week. Thanks. Bye bye.